campaign on social media. You don't run, your whole family runs anymore. It's everybody. So thank y'all so much for being willing to do that. It makes a tremendous difference to have good candidates who are willing to run and to help accomplish the purpose of our party. What's the mission of our party? Promote our platform and elect candidates who will put it into policy. That's it. That's what we do. Everything else that we do is just a derivative of actually helping to make that happen. So in the meantime, if you would, all please stand. And we're going to see, I'd like to have Secretary of State Mark Hammond going to come forward, as well as Debbie Spa, Megan Morgan, and our Lieutenant Governor, Pamela Evitt. Secretary Hammond, will you give us the opening invocation?
I would be honored to, and thank you for allowing me to be your Secretary of State, and thank you all for coming out tonight. Please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, bless our gathering tonight. Continue to bless our country and our great state. Thank you for our police officers, our firefighters, our first responders, and our military personnel. Protect them so they can continue to protect us. Give us wisdom as we make decisions that not only impact our lives, but the lives of others. And may we show favor in your eyes in all that we do. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Debbie Spall is going to lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, Megan Morgan will lead us in the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now, Lieutenant Governor will lead us all in the Republican Creed, which I know you all know by heart, right? Nobody needs notes. Okay.
I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. If I can seek opportunity, not security, I want to take the calculated risk to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for dole. I prefer the challenges of life to guaranteed security, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any master save my God. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud, and unafraid, to think and act for myself, enjoy the benefits of my creation, to face the whole world boldly and say,
be seated. Thank you very much. And now for the rest of the introduction, Suzette Jordan.
Don't give her a round of applause.
I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. As Drew said, I'm Suzette Jordan, and I am a member of the 4th District Republican Club. And side note, I also was honored to serve you as the 4th District as an elector in 2020 for President Trump. And Secretary of State Carmen hosted that meeting where we signed as part of the Electoral College. I'd like now to introduce our moderators. We have, first of all, Taggart Houck, and he is with WYFF 4. And then we have Joey Hudson and Deb Sofield, and they're with 94.5 The Answer. So thank you.
And we have just a few minutes before we will start the broadcast at 7 o'clock. We have this little clock issue with the radio, and so we'll have just a few minutes, give you some of those in the back time to find a seat, and we'll start right at 7 o'clock when we hear the music start. So take a quick break.
Walk in front of your camera.
We're going to hear from the legislators in just a minute here. And we have a lot of elected officials here, so let's go ahead and honor them. If you're here and you're not going to be participating, we still want to thank you. So go ahead and stand if you are an elected official. You also see our sheriff somewhere in the back. Where's the sheriff? Sheriff is leaving. Councilman, Secretary of State.
As well, Supreme County School Board.
Okay.
Joe Bill, I represent District 17, the northern part of the pretty place. Okay.
Councilman Lynn Ballard. Who am I missing? Senator Kimbrell just joined us. Some candidates, let's go ahead and call you out by names. Candidates starting in the back. Mr. Morgan, introduce yourself.
Hey, my name's Alan Morgan. I'm running for State House District 18 in the special election March 22nd.
Councilman Lee.
Hey everybody, Lee Dumas. I've been on city council for about 13 years right here in the city of Greer. Running for Tommy Stringer's seat, District 18.
You guys didn't know this, but we'll probably ask him some questions a little later. We originally designed this to be a lot about the State House, but then we wanted to hear from the Senate, and it was going to be too long. So we just invited one Greenville, one Spartanburg, but we are very honored to have my senator here. So Senator Dwight Loftus, say hello. Candidates from kind of party, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Joey Russo, running for Greenville County Council, District 17.
We'll be in trouble if I miss anybody. Michael Carter, where's Michael Carter? Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name's Michael Carter, and I'm running for Greenville County Treasurer this year.
Yes, sir.
Al Hodges, I'm running for Greenville County Treasurer.
And of course, in a few minutes, we hearing from him also, but he had a big announcement today. Congressman William Timmons. Okay, about 2 minutes of mingling now. I missed 2 elected officials. Did you wave though?
I did.
I can't see you from. But there's another one here that I'm not sure you did. Water commissioners, stand. Water commissioner. Mr. Phil Kilgore. Mr. Kilgore sponsored SCGOP 4th District Christmas party. It was unbelievable. Jerry Warren and her team planned that. They did this decoration. Jerry Warren, where are you? Jerry and the ladies, please stand. If you help with the Christmas party, we have some Spartanburg ladies too. Right here. Go ahead and stand, ladies. If you help with the Christmas party or this event.
WGTK-FM, WGTK-HD1, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Nashville, on our 94.5 The Answer app, iHeart, Alexa, TuneIn, and Odyssey. Get 94.5 The Answer. It's 94.5 WGTK The Answer, live from the historic depot in Greer, welcoming you to the SCGOP 4th District Legislative Forum. Brought to you by the Prosperity Group, the Upstate's premier retirement financial advisors. It's your opportunity to hear from your 4th District legislators about the latest that's happening in Columbia. Now, here are your hosts, Joey Hudson and Deb Sofield.
And welcome into the SCGOP 4th District Forum. We're welcoming our radio audience, of course. We have a wonderful live audience here. Let everyone at home hear your big enthusiastic applause. And we are at beautiful downtown Greer, my hometown, at the historic depot. With me, Deb Sofield, with First Monday. If you're not a member of First Monday, then let me encourage you to do so. FirstMondayGreenville.com. Of course, Governor McMaster will be there next week. Deb has made it very clear you do have to register. Don't even think about asking about showing up and walking in
I
that day.
gotta tell you, I hate to be so harsh, but it's the governor. So please, we'd love to have you. We still have a few seats available.
And it's a pleasure to have Taggart Houck from WYFF News 4. And if you'd like to watch us tonight, WYFF News 4 is streaming. Just go to their Facebook page. And you can also go to the 94.5 The Answer Facebook page as well and watch the streaming there also. And if you would like to ask a question tonight, whether you're listening to us at home on the radio or in your car, or you're here with us at the historic Greer Depot, you can text your question to our Big Rock text line, which is 877-235-9405. So write that down, 877-235-9405, and we'll be taking questions throughout the evening via our text line. Lot to go over tonight, lot to get in. First, though, I wanted to give just a few minutes to our Congressman William Timmons. He has to leave us, so you can hear Congressman Timmons and me every Tuesday, our Tuesday with Timmons at 7:30. So this is a little plug for Tuesday with Timmons. Come on up, Congressman, and talk a few minutes about what's happening in our local county.
Deb, Tiger, it's always great to be with you all. And this is an incredible crowd. I mean, this is awesome. Thank you all so much for taking the time to come out tonight to support freedom, to support the conservative movement in this state. We have a lot of work to do, not necessarily in South Carolina, where things are actually going pretty well. Y'all are very well represented in Columbia. Our statewide leadership is doing great. Can't say the same for Washington. D.C. is a mess. Amen. It is a mess. President Biden is just wrong. We have a crisis at every turn. I'm going to highlight 3, but earlier today I highlighted 10. Inflation. How many people are paying more at the grocery store? Everybody. All right, energy. How many people pay more at the gas pump? All right. Who thinks that we left Afghanistan in a manner that is befitting of this country? Oh, weird, no hands. So President Biden is literally getting an F at every turn. But guess what? This country sees it. Virginia just elected a Republican governor for the first time in years. It was a safe blue state. Now we have a Republican governor. How about Columbia, South Carolina? We haven't had a Republican as the mayor of Columbia, South Carolina in my lifetime. Do you know what happens? When everybody knows somebody that's been shot or mugged in 5 Points, they make changes. When everybody says, our property taxes are 2 or 3 times what anybody else I know in South Carolina's property taxes are, they make changes. So this country is about to make a change. This country is going to make a serious change in the House and the Senate in November because President Biden is failing at every turn. And I could not be more excited to hold the Biden administration accountable, to use the oversight of Congress, of the House, of the Senate, to ask them the hard questions, to make them answer why their policies are the best policies, which, by the way, they're not. And when you shine light on the bad policies of the Biden administration, they're going to change them, just like they did with the vaccine mandates. They started out with 6 executive orders that were unconstitutional. Now we're down to 2. One of them he just retracted on his own. The other 3, the court system said, you just can't do that. So we are moving in the right direction. The last 3 months in D.C. have been incredible. You had the Democrats deny the president his signature legislation, Build Back Better. We've spent $7 trillion in the last 18 months, and President Biden wanted to spend 5 more. We have the highest inflation in my lifetime. What do you think that's going to do to inflation? It's going to skyrocket. So no, even the Democrats said this is a bad idea. We have an opportunity in November to take back the House, to create the largest Republican majority that we have had possibly in the history of our country. And I think that all the ingredients are there. I think that the time is right. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we take back the House and the Senate and that we change the direction of this country because we all can agree that it is long overdue. I just want to say thank you all for your support. The Republican... I just want to say thank you all for your support. All the Republicans in this room, we are all working in the same direction. I announced my re-election today. We had over a dozen elected officials attend. We had almost 35 elected officials endorse my candidacy. I'm working hard. I have a voting record that I will put up against any conservative in Congress, and I can promise you I will continue to fight for the 4th Congressional District to send our values to Washington and to turn this country around. Thank you so much.
And again, you can hear Congressman William Timmons tomorrow morning at 7:30, where we gather each Tuesday morning for Tuesday with Timmons. Now we're going to take just a few minutes with our Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evitt. We always gather on Thursday mornings, not quite that early. 8:30 is our time, but talk with us a few minutes about what's going on in the governor's office and legislatively. I know that we're going to be hearing from state senators, state house members, but talk with us from the executive point of view.
I will. Well, thank you
you all. Oop, I don't think it's on. Why don't you do that? Put the extra.
Here, I've got Angelo coming. We'll be good. You're good. It's live.
There we go. Well, thank you all for coming. What an amazing turnout to here today. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me, but I don't think it's coming through this.
Yes.
All right, let's try it again. Okay, no. Let's do that. I'm a mom, I have 3 kids, I can yell loud, you guys will all hear me. So it's just wonderful to be here tonight with so many amazing Republicans, so many people that I call personal friends, and so many people up here that I have gotten to know and admire so much on both sides of me, doing great things. So if you're in Spartanburg or in Greenville, you should be so incredibly proud of the people you see before you because they are fighting hard. You know, this is now my 4th year going into as lieutenant governor, and I made a habit of going up and seeing them in the House. The governor said, go up, make friends, find out what people are doing, tell them what our initiatives are, work with them. And that's what I've done and gotten to be such friends with them. And last year, I can tell you, I have felt a level of intensity that I hadn't felt before because they were doing everything they could. This, what you see here, along with your governor and I, is the last firewall from bad policies that Congressman Timmons were talking about, right? We are looking at amazing things this year. I hope you all watched the governor's State of the State. Is this the time for school choice? Is this the time for the parents to decide what their children should be learning? It is. And the governor and I have been talking about that for a long time. I think this is the time, right? I think parents are at the point where they want to control what's happening in their kids' lives. What else are we excited about? We think this is a year to cut taxes. You know, South Carolina, woo, that is a good thing. You should cheer for that. We all want to cut taxes. We know that you can spend your money way better than we can, right? So the governor has been asking. We felt it was going to be really good, and then COVID happened. So what did the governor do? We are a fiscally responsible state. So it was like, let's hold off. Let's make sure we can get through these tough times ahead. And we did. We went into the pandemic with a surplus. A lot of states could say that. But here in South Carolina, we came out of the pandemic with a surplus, and not many states can say that. So this is the time to have tax cuts. The governor wants to do it responsible as a step-down approach. You know, Georgia has lowered their taxes, North Carolina's lowered their taxes, and there is rumor that they will be lowering them again. We need to stay competitive, because I can tell you that businesses from all over the globe are looking at South Carolina. They're looking at South Carolina because of the way we handled ourselves through the pandemic. Right here in the upstate, great companies like Michelin and BMW had record years through the pandemic. And if you talk to Knut Floor, if you talk to the president of Michelin, they will tell you they attribute that to good leadership in Columbia, allowing them to stay open, allowing them to keep working, and doing everything we could to keep South Carolina open and running. So that is what we have on the docket for this year, trying to get all of our people working again, right? The governor wants money, more money to go to our technical colleges to make sure that we can get people certified, that we can get them in good paying jobs, that we can move them out of those entry-level positions so that we can give the companies that are here the workers that they so need. So we're going to be working hard. We're going to be working with this General Assembly. They do a great job. What I can tell you is the crazy chaos you see on the federal government is not what you see in Columbia. The governor's office, our legislature, we work together. Because when we work together, then we can actually do great things for you, the people of South Carolina who sent us down there to do great things for you. So thank you all so much. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for all your support. 22 is going to be a great year. Everybody you see up here will be up for re-election. The governor and I are up in 22. I can't believe it's been 4 years, but it has. 22 is the year for Republicans to take everything up and down the ballot. From federal elections to state elections to our local elections to our school boards. We need to make sure that is our ideas, our good conservative ideas, that will keep this country, the country we love. So thank you all again, and thank you for all you're going to do, the door knocking and the calls. You're what make the difference. You are who we come to. So thank you for coming out, and next time bring 10 of your friends. Let's really pack this room out because we need all your help in November. Thank you all.
And as I said earlier, we're going to be focusing primarily on the State House, but before we get to that, I wanted to bring up a couple of state senators. First, from Spartanburg County, Senator Josh, come here.
Well, thank you and good evening. Isn't it great to be in what former Senator Vern Smith called the center of the universe in Greer, right? Because it's between Greenville and Spartanburg counties, the two most influential Republican counties in the most Republican state in the country. So give yourselves a round of applause, because hopefully the country starts here. I told Senator Turner I was glad to be his warm-up act tonight. You know, what a great guy. He's a great person to work with. Greenville County should be proud of Ross Turner and Dwight Loftus. Give them both a round of applause. So what we tried to do in the Senate this year, how many of you like Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana? Don't y'all think he's So there was an interview in which he's giving some advice to President Biden. He said, Mr. President, I say this respectfully, but you just got to try harder not to suck. So what we've tried to do in the Senate is not suck. We have the most conservative South Carolina Senate in 30 years, don't we, Senator Turner, Senator Loftus? The House has always worked hard. Y'all have always been the ones leading the conservative charge, but I promise you we're trying to give you a run for your money. Last week, the South Carolina Senate decided to take a step forward in making sure medical freedom is a reality and repeal Certificate of Need to open up to end hospital monopolies in this state. We can't have an oligopoly that's government-sponsored where a handful of players get to play and everybody else is forced to the sideline. And one thing we've learned during the pandemic is medical freedom is a proxy for freedom. We have to defend your freedom. Which leads me into some things I want to talk about, besides just what the Senate as a whole has done. There's a bill, Senate Bill 811. I'm going to need your help, because Senator Turner, Senator Loftus, we're all working on it together. And that is to defend medical rights of conscience in this state. You should never be forced to choose between your principles and a paycheck, and you should never have to check a box to go to work. And so we have the vaccine mandates, one thing, but in Columbia, South Carolina, y'all don't maybe know this, we live here in red territory. The city of Columbia decided if you were a Christian counselor or therapist, if you told a person under the age of 18 that there are two genders, they're fining you $500 for every time you say it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to put a stop to that because Senate Bill 811 will overturn that. We're also working really hard to ensure that, how many of y'all are proud of Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia, right? He won because he realized that parents, not bureaucrats, are in charge of your children's education. We shouldn't have some bureaucrat telling you what your child should take and what medical treatment they should pursue or what they're going to be taught when they go to school. Parents do matter. And so give Senator Loftus a round of applause. I was proud to co-sponsor with him Senate Bill 900, which is the Put Parents in Charge Act, where you don't have to ask permission from a government bureaucrat to teach your child. I believe that the notion that you sometimes have to have a Jimmy Carter to get a Ronald Reagan. We've got Jimmy Carter on steroids. And if you look at not only did Virginia elect a governor, they elected a Republican lieutenant governor, Winsome Sears. What an amazing woman she is. The first ever Cuban-American Attorney General of Virginia, who is killing it in Virginia. They have a Republican House and a Republican Senate. If they can do it in Virginia, we can go further in South Carolina. Because they're a purple state, we're a red state. And finally, the Lieutenant Governor mentioned cutting taxes. Look, I've been beating that drum for a long time, back from my radio days, Mr. Hudson. I just introduced, and Senator Turner co-sponsored, Senator Loftus co-sponsored, the most ambitious tax cut in the history of South Carolina. I don't want to cut taxes by 1%. I want to take the personal tax rate from 7 to 3.5, and I want to eliminate every single tax on every LLC, every S corporation, every corporation in this state, because I do not want a sucking sound when businesses move to North Carolina and Georgia. finally, I will say this as part of our tax proposal. We cannot only recruit multinational companies. We do a good job of that, and that's great. It's good to have them. But you and I both know that corporate America is going woke. And I don't want South Carolina's economy to be dependent on that we have to suck up to some big company that wants to tell us how to live our lives. So if we cut taxes on LLCs, S corporations, and small business, ladies and gentlemen, we will create tens of thousands of jobs right here, homegrown in South Carolina. We're not kissing the ring of somebody in San Francisco or New York because I want to grow the economy, but I will not sacrifice the culture of South Carolina in the name of creating jobs. Okay, I was going to end with that, but I've got a friend holding the sign. Yes, I did co-sponsor Save Women's Sports. And I got to tell you, you look at some of these swimmers, whenever you have a biological male winning all the women's sporting events, something's gone crazy. Right? So yes, we're working hard in the Senate, the Education Committee, to pass Save Women's Sports. Sorry, the House didn't get it done this time, so now the Senate's going to do it. I just did. The House will pass it too, because I know Reed Allison will do it. I know, I'm just picking. That was a little friendly rival. Vote. Well, I'm not commenting on that. I used to criticize attorneys till they're on my side. But look, the House is going to pass it too. Give the House a round of applause. Okay. Well, I can't beat up by the House. But I'll tell you what, whenever we're in the struggle of our lives for the culture of this country, right? And I got to tell you, states like this are going to prevail because we still believe that our rights come from God. We still believe in the right to keep and bear arms, and we know which restroom to use. So God bless all of you, and God bless South Carolina.
Senator Jasper, from Spartanburg, if you could have been just a little more enthusiastic. Senator Ross Carmen from Greenville.
You gave us 10 and Josh took 9. I got 1 minute for you. Thank you. No, Josh was dead on it. He's, and he's a lot more rah-rah, and he's a lot more smooth, great radio talk show guy. I'm a business guy. I'm an insurance sales guy. I just try to get to the point. Let's do something done. And so I'm one of those. There's been a big shift in the state Senate, not just from the last election, but also we lost Senator Leatherman this past fall, who had been chairman of finance for probably 20 years. After that, the Senate shift has moved. Now there's 45 of us, but Harvey Peeler left presidency, moved to the Senate finance chairman. Thomas Alexander left LCI, went to the presidency of the Senate. So right now, the Senate is controlled by the upstate. I hope that means we're going to be responsible with it. But, somebody says, well, that means the money's coming home. And I said, well, let me explain to you what I've learned quickly about money in Columbia. We build the 385, I-85 interstate exchange, and we spend $400 million. Charleston needs 526, not the one to Kiowa, forget the expansion. 526 into Isle of Palms to go to 6 lanes, and that 526 bridge needs to be raised 4 feet so these new Pan Am ships can get even further up the river, so that maybe the truck traffic won't be quite as bad in Charleston. That's $4 billion. Whoa. So the fact that I could bring a lot of money home to the upstate, and one project down there can wipe it all clean. But they're quick to point out to you, too, that the Port of Charleston, we are 50% the benefactor of that port in the upstate. So what's good for Charleston is really good for Greenville. And really good for South Carolina. And this mentality that it's us against Charleston is no longer. It's us against North Carolina, Georgia, and really the rest of the world. And as we repatriate companies back to America from China, so that we don't have to be depending on them the way we found out we were 2 years ago, I think we're going to be an incredible place for a lot of those places to land. And the opportunity, I talked with 8th grade class this morning at Lead Academy, and the opportunity they have in South Carolina is unbelievable. And it's not just because of our location, but because of the people and the fact that we respect freedom and the companies want to be here for that. And we don't need to step on that and walk all over that. That's a huge responsibility. Growth is coming. We just need to be smart about it. I think the Senate, the House is a little scared now because they used to send stuff to us just to die. Now they're scared if they pass it, we might pass it too. So just one quick story. So we keep talking about the Youngkin election in Virginia, and I was lucky enough to be playing golf in a big group the next day with Trey Gowdy and Mick Mulvaney among them, and we were sitting there talking, everybody was talking, and they said, "Trey, were you just watching Fox News all night?" He said, "No." He said, "I watched MSNBC." He said, "It was fun watching them cry." So let's hope we have a lot more people crying like that in November. And keep these guys right. Thank you.
Senator Ross Turner, thank you both, and Senator Kimbrell as well. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears here a bit and start with our representatives from the South Carolina House in Spartanburg and Greenville. And what I'd like to do is start to my right, and if you guys would introduce yourself, take a couple of minutes to talk about an issue that is important to you. We may come back to it later. 2 to 3 minutes, if you would, but an intro and an issue that's important to you. Angelo, can we help with his microphone there? Let's be sure.
The mics will be on, so you don't have to turn me. Don't worry, you're wired. Can you hear me now?
Okay. What about the wire going in the middle there? Yes. There you go.
Hello, testing.
Okay, there we go. Okay, now, success.
Well, thank you, Joe Hudson. Thank you for the opportunity, and to the sponsors, thank you so much for the opportunity of being here and sharing a little bit with you of some of the conservative priorities. And my name is Josiah Magnuson, and I represent District 38 in northern Spartanburg County. So privileged to be with you tonight. And Curtis Smith and Ms. Nancy are my constituents, so very honored to have them. Curtis Smith is the chairman of the Spartanburg County GOP. So a couple of things that I'm not sure I can pinpoint one specific issue. I will say that I think we need to keep focused on the vaccine mandate issue. I think that's a huge thing right now for freedom in South Carolina. The Supreme Court decision didn't finish that. We need to get something through. Both the House and the Senate have passed now bills. I led the fight to stop the vaccine mandate back in December. We were able to finally get something to the House floor. We went from 14 votes the first day to 43 votes the next day, and finally got a bill through the House with 67 votes. So we're very thankful that we were able to get to an agreement on that. But now we have to have the other House pass one of the two bills. So we're going to continue to work to protect both private and public employees from having to have the vaccination. I will say we're working on election integrity with the RAIN Act, working on tax reform. Senator Kimbrell touched on that, definitely support his efforts. The education transparency is a big one for me. I know Representative Allison will tell you some about that and her work. Let me give you a little taste of what I'm going to be pushing for with the pro-life issue coming up. So as you all are familiar with, I would hope I'm the main sponsor of the Personhood Act in the South Carolina House. And personhood would set life at conception, and it would just end abortion per se in South Carolina. But there's been a criticism of the personhood issue, which is that it doesn't really have teeth. It doesn't really have a way of enforcement. So there's 3 bills that are now in the South Carolina House that would functionally end abortion and would have the teeth to do so. And I'll tell you what they are, and I would encourage you to contact your representative and senator and ask them to support one or all of these. The abolition of abortion would just simply treat abortion as murder. It's H4046. The PSSC Act, the Personhood Enforcement at Conception for every South Carolinian, would strip any abortion facility, any facility that intentionally terminates the life of a person. It would strip that facility of any business license or professional license and authorize the sheriff to close down that facility right away. And that's one that I've just introduced. I'm very honored to have the support of several others up here. And then there's also a trigger law that Senator Richard Cash has been supporting, which would do kind of the same thing as the abolition bill, treating it as murder, but it would only take effect if the Supreme Court overrules Roe v. Wade in June. So I would encourage us to focus on that. I don't think we have any excuses now for that we're not ending abortion per se in South Carolina, and I would love for you to contact your representative and senator and ask for those bills to be the focus, to once and for all stop the killing of unborn children in South Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. It's a pleasure to be with y'all tonight, but more than that, to look out at your wonderful faces and know that in your heart there's that conservative feeling for life, and what is right has always been right, and what is wrong has always been wrong. So thank you for all that you do here in this state to keep that going. I am Rita Allison. I represent District 36 in Spartanburg County, and have also, up until we changed lines, sitting on the Greenville delegation too. And of course, we'll see where that goes, and if it goes well, then I will be all back in Spartanburg County. I am honored to serve as the chair of the House Education and Public Works Committee. How those two got together, I don't know, because we handle everything policy-wise that comes through the House, from K all the way up to 12th grade, technical colleges, and our colleges in this state, our 33 public, independent colleges. All of those come policy-wise to our committee. On the other side, there's Public Works, and that has to do with policy and transportation. It also has to do with the DMV, Department of Public Safety, Aviation, and Rail. And let me say that I am really honored because I am the first woman Republican to serve as a chair in the House of Representatives. This is a very active year for us when it comes to conservative values and morals, those things that are at the heart of what all of you and I stand for. And we want this country and this state to continue to grow in those morals and those values, and get on our knees every night and know that that is what is going to carry us through. We have this year what I'm calling transparency and integrity in our children's education. And as I was told years ago, if you keep the child in the middle of the table and you really focus on what is best for that child in our future, you're going to do the right thing. We have in our committee the known as the critical race theory. Right now we have 5 bills. Some of the people sitting with me today have bills. We have all 5 of those up. We went over those last week in the committee, and on February the 8th, we're going to begin our hearing on that, to hear from teachers, from parents, from students, from activists like you that know that we want our children to be taught history. We want them to be taught what our curriculum in this state provides for them to be taught. And over and beyond theory and opinion is not something we need to get into with our students. We need to know history so that we can learn from history, and so that the mistakes, the good, the bad, and the indifferent will not have to happen again, hopefully. And what I'm excited about is to hear that the Senate, and they're right, Senator, we used to send a lot of things over there to them, but now that they've gotten those good conservative foundations over there. A lot of things that are coming out of the House are being passed out of the Senate. And we thank you to all of our conservative senators. We also are looking at choice for our education. We have the education scholarship accounts that will be up. That is in Ways and Means right now because it lends itself to the monies and the allocations. But in the policy area, we're looking to do that right so that we can do it for all children going forward. I just visited a wonderful charter school in our state today and saw what they were doing and what their teachers were doing at High Point Academy. We're going to continue those charter schools, which are public-private, but they lend a 25% opportunity that our traditional education does not. We're going to continue to look at those kind of things, making sure that our parents have choice for their children and that their children get the best quality education. We're also looking at how we can invite and encourage more young people to go into teaching. You know, right now in this state, we give a stipend to those young people that enter college in the STEM, in math and science and all. We have a bill now coming out of the House that will allow those young people that go into teaching to have that same stipend, to encourage them to go into teaching and to come out, whether they're public or private, to make sure that we have the best quality education. There's a lot going on coming down from the feds when it comes to transportation and our roads and all the money that's being spent and where it's going, and we're doing our best to see that we spend that money in a very conservative way in this state so we can continue to move when it comes for the transportation, infrastructure, sewer, water, all of those things. And the last thing I want to say is to the sign, we also have that bill in our committee to save our women's rights. Right now we're looking at taking up that bill as soon as the judiciary decides what they are going to do. We have a different bill in our committee which also has to do with collegiate, not only our K through 12, but collegiate. So it's an exciting time. Our doors are open. Anytime you have input, concerns, or needs, you know where we are. Please call on us. Thank you.
Hey folks, I'm Stephen Long. I represent Bowling Springs and Inman areas of Spartanburg County in the State House. You asked us to pick an issue, and asking a legislator to pick an important issue is like asking a kid to pick a piece of candy. There's too many to choose from. But I'm going to boil it down. Really, what it's about is about fighting for freedom. And that can be broken down in so many different ways. First and foremost is with life. And just echoing what Representative Magnuson said, you know, as we talk about all these different issues, we always got to take it back to what's most important, and life is the most important thing. So absolutely working towards that. Very proud of what the legislature did last year with the heartbeat bill, with the Senate and with the House working together to get that done. I consider that one of our greatest accomplishments in the last 5 years that I've been in Columbia. But as far as other issues, so I'm just going to hit you rapid fire because I know that we're kind of on a clock. So number one, talk about medical freedom. So Senator Kimbrell mentioned certificate of need, which I know he's been bird-dogging that for a long time now. So certificate of need is, a lot of people don't understand it, which is why you don't hear a lot about it from the grassroots. It's a barrier to free medicine. It's a barrier to competition in the marketplace, and it basically just rises costs and makes it more difficult to get care. So when it comes to medical freedom, we're repealing our state certificate of need law. Also on the same topic of medical freedom is these vaccine mandates, and I'm getting fed up with them. You know, the victories that we had in the courts a couple weeks ago were great, but that's not enough. We can take that a few steps further on the state level to protect the people of South Carolina from being forced or coerced into getting a shot that they don't want to take. Talking about education freedom or school choice. So school choice has been something that we've been talking about for a long time now, but with the changes we've seen in the Senate, I think we finally have an opportunity to get something done when it comes to school choice. And we need to be funding students, not systems. We need to make sure that you know, each child's going to be different, and you can't make there's no one-size-fits-all program for kids. Some of them have different interests, they have different skills and aptitude. So we need to make sure that the education policy is suited for the students, not for the systems. Talking about financial freedom. So with the change in the Senate, we finally, I think, have an opportunity to get something done on taxes. Whether we talk about a simple income tax cut, whether we talk about something that's more broad and comprehensive, such as income tax coupled with sales tax, we have an opportunity to cut taxes in South Carolina, and the Republicans, we can't afford to let that get away from us this year. And then I guess lastly, the fifth one would be free and fair elections. And, I know a lot of people are very skeptical about the results that we had with the 2020 election. One area in particular that in South Carolina I think we can all agree on has to do with our absentee balloting process. And in fact, there is no verification for the witness signature on the absentee ballots. The voter rolls are not being cleared up the way they should be. So we definitely have an opportunity. Those are layup shots to clean up our election laws in South Carolina, just to clean it up a little bit. So that's a few things I'd like to
Joining our radio audience, we are in downtown Greer at the Historic Depot at the SCGOP 4th District Legislative Forum. We're going to move over to, I think we're sitting right in the middle of Greenville, Spartanburg County. So we're going to move to Greenville County now. Let's start at the far end. Introduce yourself and give us a quick issue or so. Now, those of you in Greenville, you're familiar with Deb's time clock. And so Deb may have the clock on you here.
Deb may have a comment? Okay. All right. I'm going to turn this way then so I can look at Deb. Thank you all for coming here tonight. I appreciate everyone being out here tonight. I'm Representative Gary Smith from Simpsonville, Malden area, District 27. I am also honored to have the opportunity to take and to serve Greenville County as the chairman of the legislative delegation for Greenville County and to work with our senators and House members from Greene County. Right now we have 22 members of the South Carolina House of Representatives and Senate that will come from Greenville County. Next year, after redistricting, we will have 24. We're by far the largest of the legislative delegations in South Carolina, and you're part of that, because if it wasn't for you coming here to this area and for everything that you do to take and make Greenville such a great area to live in, that wouldn't be the case. I'm proud to also work with my friends from over in Spartanburg. We work a great deal together. We sit back in the back corner of the State House on the House floor together. So we have a great opportunity to take and work together over the last several years and enjoy working with each one of those. I'm just going to talk about a couple of quick things because we kind of need to push things along a little bit. One of those has to do with election reform. How many of you realize that there was a big thing that took place, a decision was made this past Wednesday in South Carolina, in Columbia? Anybody aware of that? Anybody familiar with the Legislative Audit Council? The Legislative Audit Council was created a number of years ago, back in the 70s, by the General Assembly to be that oversight body, to take and do process and procedural types of audits on our agencies and departments and so forth in the state. I am honored to represent the South Carolina Ways and Means Committee on the Legislative Audit Council. My good friend from over in the Senate, Wes Clymer, also sits on the Legislative Audit Council from the Senate, representing the Senate. One of the things that we wanted to do this year was to put together a request for an audit of our election commission and some of our county election offices. Now, why would we look at the election commission offices in the county? Because when you look at how we have our election system set up in South Carolina, and it was done intentionally. It was done in 1895 with the Constitution. What you realize is that the major decisions that are made about how you run your elections in the state of South Carolina are not done at the state level, but at the county level. And it was done intentionally that way. Because at that time, the legislative delegation controlled the counties in the state, including the election commissions. We still have that system in place today. And one thing that I've learned as a manager and as a governmental administrator over almost 40 years now is that people do what you inspect, not necessarily what you expect. If you really want to make something important in your organization, one of the things that you do is you make it a part of your employee evaluation and your employee compensation system. You inspect it. You make sure it's driven home that this is an important issue. The laws that we have passed over the last several years in South Carolina have reformed our election system in the state. But we still have more people voting in Lee County on a consistent basis than there are voting age population in Lee County. And that can't continue to happen. We've got to address that. And the only way you do that is by bringing it out and bringing it to the forefront and doing it in a manner where you have the evidence and the information there to move forward with prosecutions. You want to change elections in South Carolina? That's how you do it. And this past Wednesday, the request that we had put together for that audit was passed and approved by the Legislative Audit Council. We have a team of auditors we all had already set aside that is ready to get started on that process this week. So with that, I'm going to pass it on down to my friend Mike Burns.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for being here. My guys up here are telling us we need to be brief. You know why they're telling me that? So they get more time. I know what you guys are up to. Anyway, I'm Mike Burns. I represent the northern end of the county, Travelers Rest, Slade, Marietta, and Tiger Bill. Anyway, I got a long list of things, and I'm not going to go over them all, but I'm going to go over 3 or 4 of them really quick. The first overarching thing that I'm trying to get passed to put in every school in South Carolina to refocus on how our priorities really should be is the motto bill. In God We Trust should be on the wall in every public school in South Carolina. And, we failed to get it out of committee last year. We're going to try again this year and try to get that out. And we need some help to do that. But in God We Trust is very important. It's foundational. The second thing that I'm very passionate about, and we've tried all kinds of bills to try to deal with this vaccine mandate train wreck that we're in. Recently, a couple of weeks ago, I filed House Bill 4848, which will make it a misdemeanor with a $14,000 fine in South Carolina if you inquire about one's vaccination status. And people ask me when they interview, they say, where did the $14,000 come from? I said, ask Joe Biden. They came up with that figure, so it's good for them. It's pretty good for us. You know, we'd already filed a couple of other bills along the way that haven't gone anywhere, where if your company, you know, there's no liability on these vaccines from the feds or from the manufacturers of the vaccine. So we filed a bill earlier which hasn't gone anywhere, which would make it, if you own a company and you force your employee to take it, you also take on the ownership of the liability if something goes wrong. There's also a bill down there that's the right to try bill, where some of these FDA-approved drugs that they don't want us to use, if they're FDA approved for any label, off-label, whatever, then you can request and have those used in South Carolina. Gary was talking here about election integrity, and you know, if you're going to get everybody to buy in that the election's safe, I also pre-filed the bill back in December for this session that we just, you know, we need to clean those voter rolls up every 2 years, but we really should consider going back to paper ballots for a while. So we figure out that we're not hooked up with the Chinese or the whomever, and we're flipping votes somehow. And The CON is important. And then the last thing, I hate that Josh left. Don't go. I need you to stay 1 second. The last thing is, I've been on the tax committee in the House for 3 years, and I tried to cut the top rate from 7% in South Carolina to 4.5%, and I couldn't get it done. And it looks like our friend Josh Kimball, Senator Kimball, might be able to get it to 3.5%. And so I've taken his bill from the Senate and filed the exact bill in half, over in the House. So we need to get tax relief. It is foolishness for us to have $1 billion, $2 billion of extra money year after year, and we don't do anything very responsible to take $2 billion and really fix a couple of things. What we do is the chicken principle. We feed out, everybody gets a little more, and we don't really solve a problem. So if we're not going to solve a problem, we need to leave the money with you, the taxpayer, and you can invest it in the economy of South Carolina. We'll all be better off, and we won't have to worry and fight over how we're going to spend all this extra money. I yield my time to Bobby Cox.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. I was in the military. We always had 3 B's when we talked: is be brief, brilliant, and be gone. So I will definitely be at least 2 of those, and will not be brilliant, okay? So it's great to be here with you tonight. I represent District 21 on the east side of Greenville. I see some great 21 great Americans out there. It's great to be here. So from my background, as you can tell, these folks, we're very like-minded on a lot of things when it comes. We're going to be working as a team on some very important issues together: election integrity, tax reform, all those things. We are all totally on board with that. So I'll talk about 2 things that really are near to dear to my heart. I'm an Army veteran. I see I'm outranked Lieutenant Colonel in the Army Reserve, so I'm outranked by Colonel Stahl here. So it's great to have him, a great American as well. And I was doing my homework. I think a sheriff is a 2-star equivalent, so we've got Sheriff Hobart in the background there. So I say that because veterans are really near and dear to my heart, because I just served with them for a long time. And so we are long overdue for looking at how we tax and not tax at all military retirement. There are, I think, 34 states in the nation that don't tax it. And so my last assignment was at the Pentagon on active duty. I'm sitting in a room like this, and everyone's going to different states, and they're picking their states based upon how they tax their retirement. So we're missing out on people going to Florida, Texas, Illinois, over South Carolina. Now, if you visit South Carolina, you want to stay here. If you visit Greenville, Greer, even Spartanburg, you want to come here. I was born in Spartanburg, so we're long overdue with that, and we're going to have movement with it. We've seen it in the House, in the Senate. The governor and lieutenant governor talked about it. So this is the year where we're going to bring and keep military here and fill those jobs and show that we really put our money where our mouth is when we respect veterans. So I'm very excited. And in my full-time job, we're part-time legislators. I don't know if you know that, but my full-time job is I work for a gun company. So I get a lot of friends that I never knew I had for discounts. So the Second Amendment is very near and dear to my heart, as it is for people up here. And we did a great job with the Open Carry Retraining Act. We have constitutional carry that's over in the Senate, so we're continuing to push that. So we joined to be a permitless carry state, so it's something that's very important. I'll be brief with this. So, quick war story. Whenever I was deployed overseas, we were far out, away from headquarters. I would tell my guys, when things got intense and hairy, I would say, hey guys, no one's coming for us. We're on our own. All we have is each other. And that's the way I feel about South Carolina. No one's coming. We're all on our own. Right here in this room, as long as this federal government and this administration is in power, South Carolina's on our own. And we have to continue to fight and put up that red wall that we talked about, or that federal overreach, all those screens will be continued to take away. So I'm so encouraged by everyone here in this room. Thank you for the honor to serve up here. And we're looking forward to the new chapter.
My name's Adam Morgan, not to be confused with Alan Morgan, who is running for State House in the current district we're in. I'm actually wearing his button because I'm a good brother. But we have basically the same name, so if you like me, vote for him. If you don't like me, he'll be totally different. I represent Taylor's. Any of the District 20 people out there? I saw some. Okay, there's a couple of us who waved late night. We have to work in the morning. I ran for the House to change the culture of the House. I love that somebody, I actually forgot who to attribute this to, the line about let's let growth happen but not change our culture in the state. Well, the legislature needed a serious change in culture. And that was what I ran on, and hopefully that's what I'm accomplishing. That's my main goal. We talked about different priorities. They mentioned basically every legislative priority that we could possibly mention, I feel like. My goal is to help get more conservatives there, keep the ones that are there, and organize and move conservative legislation through the House and onto the Senate, and pressure the Senate to pass it, because I still don't, I'll believe it when I see it, when they start sending stuff out. Anyway, but seriously, you ask current governor, past governors, you ask anyone in the House, you ask any conservative in the Senate, I don't want you thinking, because you heard us all talk, we're like, we're going to do all these things, we're really excited. I don't want you thinking that passing anything conservative is easy in our legislature. It is absolutely not. And we're getting so much better, and I don't want to dog on people too much, but first of all, most of the conservative legislation that's moving is coming from right here, the upstate, and the pressure. And even these people, she's talking about the tax thing, I wanted to jump out of my seat. The fiscal issues in this state are serious. We talk a good game about being conservative because culturally we are, but you know those people that talk a big game and like give off that they maybe are good with money and that they got money, but then their physical house is in complete disarray and it's a wreck? Like that's similar to like South Carolina in some ways. We spend more than a lot of others. We take more government money than a lot of other states. We've got to cut. We have a spending problem. That's why, and a taxing problem. We have both. And it's a vicious cycle. So one of the things that I know a lot of us, I'm looking at Josiah, and a lot of other conservatives that are in the House, we are focused this year on fiscal responsibility, really, really pushing that tax reform issue, really actually cutting spending and trying to affect the budget and to actually cutting spending, because that's where it just bleeds right out into the Charleston water. Anyway, but yeah, I'm going to get off. But the fiscal issues are really my number one. That's kind of ironic because I didn't know that was going to be the case when I ran, because the cultural and the social ones can take over. But fiscal issues are the ones that we are easy. We like throw the footballs and the social stuff, and then we hopefully nobody notices that we have higher taxes than all of our neighbors, like literally every state around us. Anyway, and then education. I'm pretty much out of time. I need to stop. But school choice, we're really going to be pushing that. There's a lot of other people that have worked on that. One other point about passing conservative legislation. When I said it was difficult, if you understood how difficult it was, and maybe I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit, to pass open carry. Like, Bobby needed a round of applause when he mentioned that line. How difficult that was in this state. But anyway, so the exciting thing is you keep sending young, conservative, some people call us radicals, and so send some more. Send another, send Alan, actually. But I want to tell you this is really great. One of the old former members is exceedingly moderate. He was sitting near me at a caucus meeting, and he said afterwards he was so mad because we gotten drug into the open carry, constitutional carry issue, and he was like, I don't understand why they keep dragging us into these debacles, and why they keep letting them do this. Because back in my day, this is not the way things were done. And I thought, oh boy, that is a beautiful song to my ears. that is what we're there for. We don't want the old days. The old days of Democrat control, of moderate Republican control. We want a conservative vision for this state. We want to be different next year and even more conservative next year.
Deb tells me we have 33 minutes for questions after this. And Deb's my constituent, so I'm going to definitely listen to her. My name is Jason Elliott. I represent South Carolina House District 22, which is all within Greenville County. I think everything's been said, and now it's just left for me to say it. So, the last do go first. So we're good on that. I do want to say we're here in Greer, and a person who's been a mentor to me in the House of Representatives, Tommy Stringer, just stepped down, and we're going to miss Tommy's intellect and his cool, calm, and collected demeanor in getting stuff done. Tommy led the fight, and we're going to pick up the mantle on that on pension reform. So we need to do that. So I just want to thank Tommy for all he did for South Carolina. Tomorrow, for any of y'all who know a child, a parent of a child that is a special needs child, tomorrow morning, the largest allotment of parental tax credits are available in South Carolina's history. That's $5 million. So it is a race. You will have to be at your computer if you want to avail yourself of that parental tax credit. The folks their schools have talked about it, and their principals and teachers who are in independent schools, so be on the lookout for that. I'm going to wrap up by saying that we did some great things last year. Passed the biggest advancement of the Second Amendment in South Carolina, passed the best pro-life legislation that we've done. We've got to continue it up with, we're going to get it done on protecting women in their sports, and we're also going to move on school choice. And let me tell you this, school choice, it's time. It's the pandemic has shown us, COVID has showed us that parents have to be involved, and parents decide what's best for their children's education. It's not the system, it's about students. But we have a chance this year to pass real, meaningful school choice. I'm all of the above for school choice. There are several different bills. Stephen has introduced a great bill for school choice. We're working on ESAs, as Chair Lady Allison said. The chairman of Ways and Means introduced a bill this past week, and the chairman is going to hear the chairman's bill the week after next. So we're doing something on that. But what we need everybody in this room to do is encourage their members. I mean, you got us up here, we're going to support that. But encourage your House members and all across the state, if you get your friends to do the same, because now is the time. And if we can't do it now, when can we do it? So I'm counting on everybody in here to spread the word that now is the time to get it done, and we will get it done. And the Senate's working on it too, so we'll most likely have 2 good bills to continue to work on and expand on that. So thank you so much for what you do. You encourage us, you support us, and you motivate us, and you push us. And so please keep doing that, because without you all being here, y'all are the guardians at the gate to move the conservative movement forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and just as a quick reminder to our listeners at home, if you'd like to send a question, you can do so on the Big Rock text line, 877-235-9405, and of course, those of you in our audience here in beautiful downtown Greer at the Historic Depot, you can also submit questions. I've been having people all week email me, text me. I know Deb and Taggart have as well, so we're going to start with Deb.
Hey, so thank you for being here for both sides. We appreciate that. And of course, our audience here. One question that comes up so much on the radio, Joey, on the text line and the callers we get, is what are we going to do about medical marijuana in South Carolina? Is it coming to the forefront? What will conservative legislators do? Is it for help, or is it a gateway?
Well, and that is a hot topic. The Senate has been debating that. And I noticed Sheriff Hobart Lewis in the back. Before we go to the legislators, I'd love for the sheriff to come forward. If we can get the sheriff a microphone real quick, maybe. Sheriff, I'd love for you to give a law enforcement perspective on the bills that are being debated presently.
Be glad to. Glad I got all y'all in one place. This is pretty convenient. So the Sheriff's Association did a press conference, and we are against the current bill. It's a 59-page bill. And let me say this. When you talk about medical marijuana and Compassionate Care Act, nobody is against something that can medically help you in some way. Nobody is saying that we don't have compassion for people who are terminally ill. We're not saying that marijuana may not help you. My best friend died of kidney cancer. He took Murinol to help gain some weight so he could continue his treatment. I see the value in that. But read the bill. And they've done that. Thank you. I think you'll see some changes in the next few days. Honestly, I think there'll be some amendments. Whether it passes or not or whatever happens, we don't know. But the bill includes THC-infused gummies, which is just like a gummy bear you could buy across the street over here at a convenience store, as well as THC-infused vape cartridges. Those are bad. They're just bad for our middle school children, middle school age children. Nothing good is going to come of that. We seize a little over 100 pounds of THC-infused gummies every month. That's just what we catch through the mail. That's not counting what goes out here on the streets. A lot of our problems that occur in middle school, high schools right now are THC or marijuana related. We do not need a pathway to legalize marijuana in South Carolina. Right? I realize there's 36 other states who have that, and we're one that don't. Well, let's just be different and don't. I'm telling you, it's just not good. So I think they're working really hard going forward. Mr. Davis's bill has been around for about 7 years. It includes dispensaries. That's bad. We don't need to turn Greenville County is allotted 2, if I have that correct, if I read it correct. We don't want 2 dispensaries in Greenville County. I don't as your sheriff. You shouldn't as a person that lives here. That's no good. So if you get medical marijuana, call it what it is. Go to a doctor, get a prescription, go to a pharmacy and get it filled. Simple enough. Easy peasy, right? But it doesn't always work that way. So I encourage y'all to encourage your legislators and your elected officials to please support our stance. This is a statewide South Carolina Sheriff's Association stance to please oppose the current medical marijuana compassionate care act that will be coming up this week. So thank you.
Before we go on, any of the legislators like to speak to that issue, and we're going to go about 1 minute, guys and gals.
I'm not sure if anybody else wants to speak on this. We don't know what the version is going to come to the House. I saw today something encouraging on what they're doing, and Senator Turner left, but a big hang-up is like what the sheriff said. If I get a prescription for anything from the doctor, I go to the pharmacy to get it. That is what is causing a lot of people a lot of headache. So I did see today an encouraging movement. If they are going to pass something, it would be there's an amendment to have it prescribed and available only at a pharmacy. I think that would help move it in the right direction. Whether or not they do that or not. So I don't know if anybody up here can comment on how they're going to vote on it or how they're going to consider it, because we don't know what's going to be in the bill.
Someone from Spartanburg County want to address it?
Yes, thank you. And with the utmost respect to Sheriff Hobart, my good friend, I will take a little different tack, and I support the medical cannabis issue in concept. That does not mean that I support this bill as it stands. I do think we need to get it right. There's a lot of questions that I've been asking in regards to dosing and making sure that we have the correct bill. We can't just pass anything that has stamped on it medical cannabis. But I'll give you a couple reasons. First of all, it is medical. This is specific to certain illnesses. So Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, illnesses that we know that there's medical benefit for, okay? You'll hear out there that there's no medical benefit to cannabis. That's just not true. There is, and we know that there is. This is only, as Representative Elliott said, going to be it's going to be dispensed by a pharmacist, and so that's something that I'm very thankful for. This is not including smoking of marijuana. That's expressly prohibited in the current language. Again, we'll see what the final language is, but I'm encouraged by what I've seen so far. The question about Colorado and other states, what I would say is we've seen what to avoid in other states. We know where the problems are, where the stumbling blocks are, and we can avoid those things and make it as watertight as we can. And that's what we're doing. That's what I hope I'm going to see come out of the Senate is the most conservative bill in the country. Right now, it's already the most conservative, and I would support a lot. I would support more amendments that make it even more conservative, more restrictive, so that we only have patients who truly need this medicine getting it, and it's not a pathway to full legalization. That's absolutely what we want to avoid, and we're going to do all we can to avoid that. So hopefully that helps clarify some of those things. I'll say one more thing about this. We have opioids out on the market. We have other plant-based, medicines that are available, and they're much, much worse for your body than what cannabis is. They're much more addictive than what cannabis is. So why not provide a better and more healthy, actually, source and I see people with their thumbs down in the back. But I would just ask you to consider this issue and consider the patients that need this medicine, and consider not based on emotion, but based on what's actually in the bill when it comes to a vote. And that's what I'm going to do is vote on what's in the bill when it comes to the desk in the House. Thank you.
Thank you. It's 8:08. We're listening to 94.5 WGTK, The Answer. For those of you at home listening on the radio, you can also watch our stream. Just go to WYFF News 4's Facebook page or 94.5 The Answer Facebook page. We have one more response. Representative?
Thank you, Joey. Appreciate that. Hobart, appreciate the stance that you have taken. He and I had a conversation about this last week. But I wanted to say a couple of quick things about that. One, when you look at the bill, when you look at what it's trying to do, it tries to legalize something in South Carolina that is against the federal law. Right now, the feds are ignoring it. But that doesn't mean they're always going to do that. Why does it make sense to pass a law that we know is in violation of the federal law and would put our state and its economy in jeopardy? One. Number two, we have a process for putting out medicine for people who need medicine. It has worked for many years. This process will be circumvented by this law. Why does that make sense? To take and completely go around a system we have set up that is meant to protect citizens from bad medicines. We talk a lot about opioids and having an alternative to opioids. Who would take marijuana over opioids? No person who is addicted to opioids is going to take and substitute marijuana. It's not going to happen. So that's a straw man sort of an argument. But if you really want to take and to have compassion for people who are sick, who are not well, then make sure the medicine that they're getting is something that has been vetted and has been approved through a process that normally works very well in making sure that you're getting the best medication you can have for your ailment without being harmed. This bill does just the opposite. And why we would do that makes no sense to me.
Thank you, everyone. And Dr. Howe will ask the next question.
Yes, hey, thanks, everybody. Question I have, it's been discussed earlier tonight, but the income tax. Now, I wanted to ask more specifically, we've heard versions from Governor McMaster proposing to cut it down to 6%. Senator Kimball's proposal for 3.5% for the top tax. Is there room for compromise with the personal, and does it have to go with the business, the no business proposal for Senator Kimball? Just wanted to see if there were ideas out there about how best to move forward with cutting the income tax.
Who wants to start with that?
I'll be happy to do that. I serve on the House Ways and Means Committee. This bill will be up before our Revenue and Policy Committee, I think, next week to be studied and looked at and debated and discussed. Please come out. Love to hear your comments and all on that. Yeah, I think that we need to take a look at those various issues and so forth and debate those things and discuss how best to take and do this. But one thing is very much important that we need to keep in front of our minds. We have fallen behind our neighbors. We have fallen behind most of the country. We've got to fix that. And that's the most important thing we need to keep in mind going forward with income tax reform and tax reform is we've got to fix it, because right now we're losing business and losing companies to other states and other parts of the country, and we can't allow that to continue to happen, because we've got to take and put our Department of Commerce in a position where they can compete with the rest of the country and the rest of the world, and right now we're not in that position. We've got to fix that.
just briefly, North Carolina has a Democratic governor, and they're cutting taxes. We have super majorities. Same thing with school choice. Same thing with school choice. Y'all put the pressure on us. It is time to do it.
Representative Allison.
Testing. I don't disagree with anything that was said over there. You're right. Economic development, while this state has been tremendously blessed with economic development and growth. In fact, we're growing so that we can't keep up with the growth that we have, which is good. But anytime you have growth, you're going to have problems, and it's our problems we have to face. Let me say to you that I think the income tax does need to be worked out, and we need to do that for businesses. But at the same time, the South Carolina legislature has had 3 study committees in a holistic way at the tax structure of this state. I do think that we need to look at it holistically, because property tax, as I said to Josiah a few minutes ago, most of the people who call me as their representative are upset about property tax in the state. And we need to look at how we fund our schools, which is almost 70% of your property tax. We need to look at how we fund schools and how we fund other entities in this state, and let people feel that they own their house and they own their car. Because every time you buy a car, you continually pay the taxes on it all along. So I do feel that as we look at that, of which we should for our economic growth, we need to look at our entire tax structure in this state and make sure that you, the taxpayer, are covered.
I want to re-emphasize a little bit. I spent 2 or 3 years, Rita, on that tax committee, and it was one of the most enlightening things to see how we wouldn't get around to cutting taxes. Every time we got to the place where we had a good plan to actually cut taxes, the creature rose up that said it has to be revenue neutral. That happened every single time, and it put the brakes on every initiative. Revenue neutral means, yeah, we're going to cut it over here, but we're going to get it back over here so we can have that $2 billion every year. And that's the problem. We've gotten used to all this extra money. And, you know, we went through the fiasco of having to, got forced to mail people some money back, a little diddle, you know. And when you're talking about $2 billion year after year after year that you're overtaxing the taxpayer that could be spent by the consumer, you, instead of sending it to us and letting us figure out how you want your money spent. And that's just not the way to do it, because we're not solving a big problem with all this money. If we were actually, putting new bridges in and putting new asphalt all over the place, and you saw the result of it, it wouldn't give so much heartburn and pain, but we're not doing that. And, we're just funding a lot of these nonprofits and these agencies and just, handing out a little more to each one of them with nothing getting solved. And until we get rid of the phrase out of our mouths, revenue neutral, we're not going to get it done. So we got to get that out of our vocabulary. We will experience growth in South Carolina and bring in plenty of money if we cut taxes and let the people decide how to spend their money. And we got to get out of this mentality of revenue neutral. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. We have about 15 minutes left for questioning here. There's still time. If you have a question, to text it to our Big Rock text line, 877-235-9405. The South Carolina Federation of Republican Women passed a resolution this past week, Save Women's Sports. I've seen a few signs in the audience here tonight. Thank you all for being here. I wanted to talk about this for just a minute because this has been a national topic, but one that we need to discuss here in South Carolina as well. What is your position on legislation before the State House now on saving women's sports and this legislation? I'm going to start with Jason Elliott.
Yeah. It was before our committee. Now there's a bill in Representative Allison's committee, and there's still bills pending in the Judiciary Committee. Let me tell you, women have fought too long and too hard for equality in sports, so roll that back. We've got to keep fighting for it. And in South Carolina, we're going to ensure and make sure that women are not at a competitive disadvantage for men playing on women's teams. Let me just tell you, in South Carolina, the high school league doesn't get a lot right. But in South Carolina, the high school league bans that. So that's been a policy for 6 years. And in that time, there's been no male play on a women's sports team. Now, my son and my nephew, they probably could be beaten by some of the women. But my niece, who scored the 2 winning goals in her last 2 basketball games, she doesn't need to compete against a biological male. So we're going to get that right. We're going to work on it in judiciary. And if we don't get it right, then I know that Rita will get it right. So thank you for that.
Anyone else like to address that? At the college level also?
I'm confident that'll be addressed as well.
Yes. Okay. Deb.
So this came in to our Big Rock text line. The question is, could you ask, and I know it's federal, but why are we not hearing more of an outcry about the systematic deployment of illegal aliens throughout the country by our current administration? And is there anything that can be done on the state level?
Have we had any airplanes land in Columbia?
Hey, Stephen Long from Bowling Springs, Inman. So I'll just touch a little bit on that because this issue's been going on for a long time now, and a lot of it has to do with the state cooperating with federal authorities to get these people out, what we call sanctuary states or sanctuary cities. And the legislature had a budget proviso. We had legislation on it that would remove funds from any municipality or county who is not cooperating with federal authorities. So any state, any city or county that consider themselves a sanctuary state, we weren't going to give them money. And I believe that's still in effect in our budget, and if it's not, we're going to make sure it is.
Okay, but that's not the question. The question being asked is what happens when they are dropped off in a city and nobody knows they're coming in the dark of night?
So I have not received any kind of information that they are in South Carolina. If you've got it, please send it to me. My phone number and email is on the website. Please send it to me. And at the end of the day, that comes back to law enforcement. So that'd be the governor's office, and that'd be our county leadership, our sheriff take care of that. And I think our lieutenant governor.
Lieutenant Governor, would you like to address that as well? Bar would like to.
Okay, what I can tell you is this is not the years of the Trump administration, right? Where when you're a good, solid red state, you get an honest answer from the White House or the federal government. But what I can assure you is the governor is always in constant communication and wanting to know what's happening here in our state. And I know sometimes that we're hearing, like, everybody was really worried when the debacle happened in Afghanistan, right? And were there going to be Afghanistan people getting taken out of there, brought here? Those are a lot of times, those are coming from private organizations, those relocations, right? They're coming from charities that are trying to be humane, and they are moving people around. But what I can tell you is the governor is constantly working at that. But the sad part of it, and what makes 22 so important, is we do not get honest answers from the Biden administration. I can tell you my counterpart in Iowa, Adam Gregg, Governor Reynolds, they had pictures of a plane landing in the middle of the night. That another proud red state reached out to the Biden administration. They said they didn't send a plane. They reached out to ICE. ICE said they didn't send a plane. Nobody understood. Department of Defense, nobody sent a plane. They sent a plane. But it took almost 72 hours to figure out that the Biden administration sent a plane in the middle of the night. So it's not for lack of trying, it's just for lack of clarity and disclosure that we're not getting this information. But I can assure you that the governor is staying on it. He's continuing to put pressure on it to get as much information he can out of an administration that does not want to work, doesn't want to work in general, but definitely does not want to work with a red state.
Yes. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evitt. I want to take just a minute to thank our sponsor tonight, Greg Ellie with the Prosperity Group, the Upstate's premier retirement and financial advisor, and also for this wonderful venue. Is Stephen Hawkins here? Stephen Hawkins, he is the owner and the man responsible for restoring this. Isn't this a beautiful venue, and Steve and I were talking this afternoon, and he renovated it and restored it to what it would have looked like in 1913 when it was first built. So this is how it looked back then. Thank you, Stephen, for allowing us to be here tonight. We're going to come back to you, Taggart, for another question.
Yes, thank you, Joey. On the topic of infrastructure, is there a particular area in which you'd like to see improved across the state?
I'll stand up and talk about this. We have a number of infrastructure issues that we need to see improved. When you look at it from the standpoint of what's going to take and move us further down the road, as far as the future for South Carolina, what's going to be good for our economy and so forth, there's a number of projects that we can take and get done to take and do that. Road issues is one of those, but sewer issues is one of those too. When you think of some of the areas there along the bypass, the southern connector, that has no sewer at all, that's a problem for us in Greenville County. That's a problem we've got to take and address from an economic development standpoint and from a development standpoint in our area. So there's a number of issues and a number of areas that we can take and address in that regard.
Thank you, sir. We were just discussing here, there's a lot of things out there we could address. One of the things we met recently with the Secretary of Commerce of South Carolina, and this idea that we saw during the pandemic of this shift to remote working from your house, the needs of internet for school children when they have to go e-learning, which we will continue to kind of alleviate that. So infrastructure, when it pertains to broadband internet, is probably something we need to continue to look at. So that's probably, besides the roads, it's very evident, and other things, the infrastructure when it comes to broadband will not only bring companies here, but also kind of help out those folks that need it when it comes to education.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to a different topic here, certificate of need. That was mentioned earlier. And I wanted to ask this specifically of Representative Burns because I know you have been involved in this issue. If you'd take just a few minutes to talk about the certificate of need that was passed by the Senate and it's over in the House now.
Thank you for the question. I'll be delighted to talk about this for a little bit. The certificate of need, as has been discussed earlier, is really not good in our time frame now. Back in the day, I'm sure it was good to get things out in rural areas and protect their investment for a while, but forever is not a good thing to do. A while is a long time. And what we've got is we've got the larger hospital systems protecting anything else coming into their neighborhood so they can build as they wish to build and mandate as they wish to mandate without the competition. We all know that competition is a great thing. Councilman Dill and I and Senator Corbin, Senator Loftus, we've been fighting in northern Greenville County. We lost when the COVID came in April of 2020. We lost our emergency room in Travelers Rest for the northern end of the county. We've got 350 or 400 square miles. And if you live up where we do and you get sick, you're going to wait 45 minutes for an ambulance a lot of times. And if there's no ER nearby, you're going to have to come all the way downtown. And it's going to take another 30 minutes to get you downtown. And time is critical. And you don't have an hour, hour and a half if you have a serious event going on. It's terrible. So what happened to us in Travelers Rest in the northern end of the county, to go on with this, is that as COVID went along, we were promised several times, you know, we'll open this up as soon as COVID subsides. We'll open it back up. 3 different times, and it didn't get opened back up. And then I learned on WYFF somewhere, some news organization, I'm sure it was your station, thank you, Taggart. And we saw the sign being removed and the emergency room was gone, and they turned in their certificate of need without advising anybody, without talking about it, without going to the public, and just left us without any emergency services. So it forced us to try to do differently. So, you know, we went and met with 4 different hospital entities, including Medical University, which is a statewide entity. They're being criticized because they're trying to bully themselves into the upstate. Truth of it is that I'm trying to bully them into the upstate. St. Francis Bon Secours has decided that they're taking a serious look at partnering with MUSC. I asked a couple other, Spartanburg Regional, we invited them to come in. We invited ANMED. We're trying to get health care for our citizens. And when you have the encumbrance of the certificate of need to get large pieces of equipment or an emergency room, freestanding ER, it's a bad thing. And it takes a lot. And if you wanted to invest and do that, and then you've got to go up against the big hospital systems to fight to get that CON, and you could spend $5 or $10 million in legal fees and 10 years in time to get to that point. And we in the House, we have passed this before, and we are so thrilled that the Senate's taking this up, and hopefully we'll be able to pass it again and open the free marketplace up for health care to reduce cost and give our citizens more health care availability at a reduced cost because the CON is down the tank. Our former governor, Nikki Haley, just took the stroke of a pen one time and said, enough's enough, and she wrote it out. And our Supreme Court immediately decided after a year or so, you can't do that. And so the Supreme Court put it back in, so we're stuck with it till we can legislatively get it out. So we're trying hard to get it out. Thank you for the time on that.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the certificate of need? Representative Alice?
I just want to say on the add to is that because of the certificate of need and the fact of what we've had to go through with that, so many of our smaller hospitals in our blight areas across the state have had to close, and our areas don't have a medical doctor in the area or a hospital. So it would help them too to be able to branch out and to be able to have more health care in our blight areas of the state, which is a real need. We have telemedicine now, and that between MUSC and of course with the upstate with Prisma and Spartanburg Regional. But our blight areas need hospitals, and to have closed them because of a competitive system that is no longer working for us. So Representative Burns is right. That needs a long look at.
I think everybody up here supports the repeal of CON, and if we get to a vote in the House, it's going to pass.
Yes.
Thank you. Folks, it's 8:30, and we're ending our broadcast at 8:30. But have you enjoyed yourself tonight? Is this something you want to do? Special thank you to the South Carolina Republican Party. Thank you, gentlemen, lady, for being with us. All of our elected officials, be sure and join us each morning at 6 o'clock. If you aren't up, give me your mobile number. I'll text you. I'll put you on my list to wake you up every morning at 6 to 9 on 94.5 The Answer. A special thank you to my friend Deb Sofield, Tiger Howe, and for you for being with us tonight. We're going to go back to the Larry Elder Show on 94.5 The Answer.